Rolling, Chase.
Thank you. All right, so welcome back. All right, so even though the course is no longer called visual grammar, seems confusing for some, this is actually making scary scenes. So it's still a visual grammar course because it's visually about how to make horror films. So even though like with the live class was just really more of an introductory class, we showed some horror films without sound, and we showed like how what are the important elements to making a horror film, because a lot of people who are just kind of dipping into horror because they love it, they want to make a horror film, they actually don't have all the elements in play. Because when you watch a horror film, you know, there are certain things that are active that attack your senses, such as the music, such as the atmosphere, such as the effects. All of those things aren't there with you when you're actually making a film. So let's just take like your average horror film, like a Stalker or a blood bath type of film. Well, what happened is that you have a potential target. Let's not use the word victim. You have a potential target that are outside their element. Usually a girl alone in the woods, right? Walking along, and then she hears a crick, she hears the sound of a wood twig, and then she instantly thinks it's someone she knows. Paul? It's a trope that we all are aware of. But what happens though is that when you're actually out in the woods and you're actually a part of the crew that wants to make this horror film that takes this girl out in the woods, everything, you know, hopefully she's gonna go skinny dipping in the pond or something like that. Yeah, I want to be on your film. Or yeah, I want to make a blood for a zombie film. Yeah, I want to do all those kind of things. So you get the fans trying to help you make your horror film or your horror scene, and what tends to happen is that they don't have all those elements that they have when they watch it. Because as the girl is walking into the woods, right, it's generally cold out there, right? Generally guys like trying to hide and creep and stay huddled together for warmth and stuff, and it doesn't feel the same, you know? So she's walking along. Where do you want me to walk? To the left, to the right, and all that kind of stuff. All of those elements aren't there. And this is why when, let's just say student filmmakers, new filmmakers, this is why when you make your horror film or your horror scene, when we all look back at it, we end up laughing. Because it doesn't have those self-same elements. And that's what this course is supposed to do, is to identify the elements that you do need to make your horror film scary and to help you be able to succeed in that. So, when we looked at these scenes from horror films last week, we looked at the factor that, you know, the scene didn't actually feel horrifying. Did it, Nigel? Mal?
Not really.
No, without the sound and atmosphere, it was just kind of like somebody just walking along in the woods. But tend to be like, so somebody's in a room or in a small space, like which we will have access to, like with the basement. What happens is that they know that they're just in a basement and they're safe. But the character has to not suspect that something's going to happen to them. So we saw the scene, like say from Friday the 13th, like girl, like there's two curtains. She opens up one and nothing's there. It's kind of like the start of the double shock syndrome, right? Which means that kind of like we give the audience one shock, nothing's there, yeah? And then, oh, wait a minute, there's another curtain. So then when she opens up the second curtain, not only does the director give us a different angle. First time we see her from behind and nothing's in the room. Second time, we see her from the front. Right? So obviously there's nothing in the room because she doesn't see anything. She doesn't react to it. Then comes the third point where now we have to let the audience in on she's, you know, we're going to get it, right? So we see the shadow of the axe, right? And the audience goes, oh my God, no, don't turn around, and everything. And what does she do?
Turns around.
Turns around and the axe to the head.
Oh.
Right? Now, in the audience, we're like, oh, yeah. You know, the bloodthirsty ones. Or the scary ones, you know, the guy you go like this, thank you, man. The girl jumped right into my arms. Right? And that's the kind of stuff that we want. So, how do we actually get there? So for you, when we're talking about these, making scary scenes horrifying or scary, is the fact that what we want you to do is to put people into that element of fear. So that means you have to tap into their senses. So the first film that you're going to be asked to do is to do just that. Right? It's to make a scary film that taps into an audience's senses somehow. We usually do the enter and exit as the first film, but this one is just kind of like our first step into it. Now, I said last week I was pretty open. You know, it could be suspense, it could be scary, it could be horror. But I think that if we tune in on just make me scared by tapping into my senses, that means using sounds, you know, or silence, and then BAM! Right? Something that's going to make me flinch. That's tapping into my senses. Something that taps into my fear is that if I'm walking down a long hallway, and it's a shadowy hallway, right? And the audience is going, dude, don't walk down that hall. Right? But the character's got to walk down the hall anyway, yeah? How are you going to scare me with that? And this makes each director individual because it's the choices that you make, right? So it's kind of like, you know, I'm going to use the atmosphere. I'm going to use silence. I'm going to use music. I'm going to use lighting and shadows. That's tapping into the senses. Anybody understands what I mean by that? Mm-hmm. So I'm not telling you what to make. I'm telling you how to make it. So if you say, okay, like Nigel, let's use Nigel's example because Nigel's going to shoot some tonight. So for the new ones here, right? Nigel is going to go into what is called the crawl space, right? I don't know what Nigel's going to do, yeah? But this is how I think you should do it, or think about it. Most people have phobias. So when I say tap into your senses, that's what you should do. Spiders, arachnophobia. Yeah? Claustrophobia, biggest phobia was the wall. So if you're going into a crawl space, as what his character is going to do, then that phobia should be claustrophobia. Right? So it should be, and if he's not thinking that way, which he's quickly writing down now, but if he's not thinking that way, then he's not listening. Right? Because everybody has some form of fear of claustrophobia. Whether that is being buried alive, whether that's being in a tight space that you can't get out of, you know, whether that's fear of losing oxygen, yeah? Those are the kind of things that you should tap into because that's tapping into their senses. So if his character is going to be crawling under the bleachers, then he has to have some type of claustrophobic fear. And that's what his film should be about. If it's not about that, I don't know what it's about.
It is about that.
Thank you, Nigel. Isn't Chase clever? So, that is one of the best fears to try when you're going to do something as far as tapping into the senses. Because that is something that about 80% of people have. That kind of claustrophobic fear of being trapped. Right? And they won't laugh at your film then. Because if once you put a person into a trap, and it looks like there's no way out of that trap, all of a sudden, all kind of verklempt comes up for the audience who's watching it. Now, how do we create that verklempt? That means tightness, right? As we crawl into the space with his character. How do you think, Nigel?
How are we going to
utilizing your camera? Maybe I should give you that hint.
Utilizing the camera. Oh, it's a close up, isn't it? Close
I don't
shot.
know. Is it?
Yeah, close shot on the actor, kind of in the tight space.
Because a close
It
shot.
would be good to have the whole structure since a crawl space to have it shrink. Play around with the zoom lens and make it shrink.
It's a good idea. So both are the same as far as close-ups is concerned, right? Because the idea is the closer the camera frame is, the tighter it is for the actor, right? So what I'm trying to say is how do you make a scary scene, right? So if you're going to use claustrophobia as your element, your choice, then having tight shots doing it. Now the only wide shot you could probably have, like I think what you were trying to say is the actual space that the character is going to crawl into.
Shrinks.
The
No. The wide shot of the space before it shrinks is like you're establishing the fact that he's going into a tight place. So you're all familiar, maybe the audience isn't, but you're all familiar with the theater back there, like behind when you go down the stairs. It just was a bunch of junk down there, generally. But what Nigel had discovered was you can actually go under there to get under the bleachers where you all sit now. Right?
Yeah.
So he wants to worm his character through that. So what I'm trying to say is that if he establishes that the character is going into that place, or if he chooses to create like a descent cave dwelling kind of feel, and he doesn't establish it, again it's your choice. He doesn't establish it, but he just starts with his character trapped in that space. Right? You see the choices that you got there? Because on the one hand is he's saying, look, we got the bleachers, got the crawl space, I'm going to have my character under there. He didn't say I'm going to have my character crawl under the theater spaces. But like it also is, it's not about whether it's a secret or not, but I don't know. I think you said something about you going to establish people in the theater that he was under the theater seats. So is he somehow interacting with the people in the theater?
Yeah, it starts off as the two of them are in the cinema watching a film.
Uh-huh.
And then
so
one
why
of them,
does he go under there?
he's looking for the toilet basically. That's the,
Under the bleachers?
well, he goes out the back there. He can't get in the both the doors are locked, and then he sees something underneath the bleachers, like a flickering light or something, like a movement, and he kind of looks in to investigate, and then decides stupidly
So curiosity
takes him under there.
While he's looking for a toilet, curiosity takes him where only white people go. Sorry, that was racial. But the thing about it is I watch a lot of movies. Okay, I can't stop him. He's the director. So, like, the thing about it is curiosity takes our character under the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, cool. But main thing about it is, however it ends, you don't have to expose all of that. But the point is that we got a beginning and we got a middle, and we have the first point of what you guys should be thinking about. Phobias. Fear that attacks our senses, right? What's going to be your choice? Yeah? For your first film, right? So, basically, what did Matt say? Did Matt tell us his idea last week?
Honestly, can't remember.
Yeah, sorry, Matt.
2 weeks ago.
Usually I remember these things and stuff. Did you tell us your idea last week?
Yeah, I mentioned the idea of someone running away from someone being pursued. And when they go to run, they're looking back. When they go to run, I thought of using the, if possible,
Oh yeah, the dolly zoom, right?
dolly zoom.
Yes,
and
yeah,
then-
Hitchcock zoom, yeah.
And then they stop, and then there's a side shot of them standing in front of someone, who then proceeds to kill them.
Okay. How does that attack our senses in a phobic kind of way? I mean, it's a chase sequence. It sounds somewhat dreamlike, psychological and everything. And the person is killed anyway, but and stuff. It's scary. I think if you use the choice in the edit of slow motion and stuff, and going on along the lines of like a high anxiety kind of thing where this is pure psychological terror on this person's part, then it could be their fear of something, which I'm not sure of, but I like you to kind of like think a little bit about it, like what this person is running from, what they're afraid of. And reason why I like you to think about that before you shoot is because of the simple factor that if you go into a shoot without any idea of how it ends, I think we've learned enough, especially a lot of you, some of you returning back to the course, is that that's not the way of doing this. You know, like if you're saying, look, I feel I'm a director and I want to direct and I want to let people know I know what I'm doing. You have to be able to, one, be able to lie very well as far as that, what your idea is, but it has to feel encapsulated into something that makes sense. So if you know now the target is fear and phobias, like what could this person be afraid of that she's running from, right? Because it even if she was afraid of clowns, yeah, and we know clowns is a big fear. Even if she was afraid of clowns, she's running from that and everything like that. Or you know, if it was like a twist, like she's afraid of spiders and stuff, and like you know she's running from little spiders, and then there's a big spider in front of her, you know, because it's like her overarching fear of arachnophobia. You get me? It could be like a drowning situation that's psychological as well, where it's like a person is afraid of the water, and you know the water's coming and seeping into the room and all that kind of stuff. But like it's like you know, but in her mind she's running from it as opposed to drowning in it. Again, these are all different cool kind of visuals, something for other people to think about as well, as far as like how could I represent those kind of different type of phobias, you know? So cool, work on that. So what do you guys think? I mean, like I know you just jumped in, right? So Nigel, I know, is impatient to get to shooting his piece and stuff. Do you guys have any thoughts about if you had to make a film around fear, phobias, anything that strikes your mind right off the top of your head, and that we could probably work
Heights.
on? What?
I fear heights.
Very good. Vertigo is a fantastic choice.
Vertigo, yeah. That's one of my real ones, or claustrophobia, getting stuck in a pipe.
What?
Getting stuck in like a pipe or
Yeah.
a wall, you know, something
Yeah.
like that. I mean, some of my family are into parachuting as well, but I'm, you know, that is one thing I'd like to do just to get over the fear of heights, do you know what I mean? To jump out of a plane and see
Oh,
if
right,
I could
skydiving,
conquer-
yeah.
See if I could conquer the fear, do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Oh my God!
Oh,
You know,
I
I
don't get
mean,
much else really.
yeah, I mean,
just
first,
that.
first start with a roller coaster because that's crazy. You know, it's the rush of the wind that is on you as part of anything. But see, I want to say I don't have a fear of heights. I have a fear of falling from them.
Fear of jets.
What?
What's his name,
You
man?
have one of clowns.
Yeah, you can have a fear of clowns. Yeah,
You've got
definitely.
one of clowns, haven't you?
Do I have a fear of
Yeah.
clowns? I don't like them.
We can make use of that.
I have a fear of everything, Mark. But like the thing about it is, no, I'm just saying it. I think vertigo is really good. Something to think about is that because it's a great choice.
It isn't the height that kills you, it's the floor.
Yeah, I know. The height that kills you is the floor. What about you, Mark? What about you? Any thoughts?
Phobias. I've got a phobia of bats.
Bats? What are you, Batman?
No bats.
Oh, rats. What are you, Willett?
Probably said hats.
He said hats. I didn't think he said hats.
Me out, I hate them. I got attacked by one when I was younger, so.
Well, you know what could be interesting is the factor of you could be like the Incredible Shrinking Man. Not you, but you can have it's like the Watermelon Man experience, right? You know, where anybody ever remember that movie Watermelon Man, where a guy he sleeps under a sun lamp and he's a white guy, wakes up as a black guy.
He's a racist as well.
Yeah, he's a racist as well. But what I mean is the fact that like you can have a guy, having the fear of rats, and then all of a sudden, waking up and he's like, inch high and stuff, and it's kind of like. The worst thing is, I can't tell you, like, you see those movies, we see, like, cats are now giants, or rats, that's even worse, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a sense of helplessness. Now, ask yourself a question, like, no, how can I direct helplessness in an actor, right? This irrational fear of, like, you have no control whatsoever. So if you are actually a inch high, and you're the same size as your enemy, now think about that and how creepy that could be. Because see, when I get hives, or I call it hives, but when my hairs tingle, right? When I get scared, I'm excited around how can I represent that, like in an actor or in a film. And that's what I liked about this idea of scary scenes. Because anybody could come up with a horror scene and think they can go out and shoot it. Yeah, let's get all the blood together, get some ketchup, some Carol soup, or, let's turn the lights out. But no, for me, like I said, being a scaredy cat, I mean, am I in a situation where I have no control whatsoever? Lights go out, people creeping up behind you, like what the hell's going on? I love to see that represented in a film. Yeah? So it's something for you to think about, so what we're going to do is, Nigel's going to go and start his film, when Mihat, but what I want you to think about is vertigo and helplessness, right? And then we could kind of see how far that could take you and help you through that. So that way, next week, you could be prepared to do something around that. Like what I could do is I could bring in a green screen, and so if you say to yourself, "How am I gonna be 6 feet tall?" I mean, 6 feet tall, right? Easily shoot you on a green screen, and then control your size of whatever the character is. Control their size, and then it's about camera movement, right? So I did a film, in the last class where I took the camera, we did Alice in Wonderland. The woman drank the drink me thing, and then she shrunk down, and then the camera became her. So then I had to move around the tables and chairs as her point of view. So that's what I'm trying to say is you can simply kind of create that sense of size by having a person in the green and then do their POV, having the other person see them, because it ended funny where the guy just, stomped on her and everything like that. So without it being funny, it should be scary and all that stuff. But that's what I'm just trying to say. I want your mind to wrap around that. As far as the vertigo there is that, it doesn't have to be about falling skydiving, but it just could be about we got stairs. We got not only the stairs that are up there, but we also got those creepy stairs down in the basement. So it could be kind of what does a person feel? If you remember Mel Brooks in High Anxiety, you do probably, right? That fear of what's going to happen. When I say I don't have a fear of heights, I have a fear of falling from them. Sometimes it's the fall itself that is overcompensating, overwhelming.
I thought it was just a shock, wasn't it, as well?
What?
Shock as well, probably.
Well, yeah, the shock of death, yeah. But I meant when a person has a fear of heights, basically they get physically ill, which is why they call it vertigo. They get physically ill when they're in high places. So, I mean, jumping out of a plane is excruciating. But, it could be that, you could be on a rooftop, or you could be at the top of the stairs and all that other kind of stuff. But there's that irrational fear, the vertigo that is overtaking your character. So you have to think about, well, what do I want the audience to feel here? In this sense of vertigo. And it might cure your own sense of it by you actually using your own irrational fear in a film. Does it make any sense?
Yeah.
And stuff. So
there's an effect you can use actually in the editing. I think it's called pulse, isn't it? Where you can make the picture just kind of zoom in and out really fast.
Or beating,
beating, that's what it's called. Beating to make it look like a sort of vertigo effect. To see we used it on your Williams World when you're looking at the envelope on the floor and it's kind of pulsing to show your fear. Yeah, that's one thing you can do.
Yeah, I mean, because the thing about it is that main thing I'm just saying is these horror films or scary scenes don't always have to involve death or a killer. It could involve just these simple things like phobia and what it does to you as far as a filmmaker. How do you represent it, right? So that's the thing with that as well. All right, so anyway, so that's pretty much a short little thing about it. We got some ideas. We're gonna start on one film and then we'll see where we get to, and then hopefully help those other ideas come through for the next one. All right, thank you.